Hello! Today we're going to be putting our grandfather clock together. Now the grandfather clock stands at 1.5 feet tall, so it's a very big project. But we can make these big projects because we introduce nested dies into our construction. So I think these are a very underused resource, not just for your matting and layering and creating your tags and apertures, but if you use them in your construction projects, then you can get very big projects. Let me give you a little look at how big it's going to be. I can't actually stand it under the camera because it's so big. But look at that. That's the completed project. And it's a large project. And what we've done is we've created the side panels that looks like paneling. But yeah, it's a large, and then you've got your 2 windows at the back, because this is a working clock. That's where your clock mechanism is. And inside here is where your pendulum is and where your lights go. So that is the size of project that we're making. And it's utilising our nested dies that enables us to do that. Okay, so the main thing for me to bring to your attention is the cut list here. So when you get this home, you don't have to be watching the video to know what you need to cut. So you can actually be working through and cutting everything at your leisure before, and then when you've got everything together, you can sit and watch the video and put it together with the video tutorial. So one thing I'd like to point out here is the panels here on the left and the ones at the bottom, those are made from the dies within this die set. But this panel, this section here, these are all made with your A5 dies. So what I've done, I thought, well, I don't know how exactly, because these aren't like the other nested dies where they're kind of on the inch and every half inch. Because they're a true A5 size, they're like odd numbers. So what I've done is I've actually labelled them from the outside in. Basically you count them 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, going inwards. So this first one up here, you'll see it says a number 3. So that's basically the third one in. So you just count number 3 and then you take that die and you cut it. So with the aperture ones here, you'll see that, well, this is a good example because it says the outside is number 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the inside is number 8. So you count down number 8 and then you cut them together. But then what that does is the piece that is cut out is the number 8. But if you have a look down here, we actually need 5 number 8s. So 2 of those will come out of those 2 frames. So you'll find that there are, like here, look, like the outside on that one is actually number 8 and a number 10 aperture. So you'd count down number 8 for your outside and then number 10 for your aperture. But then here you need 4 number 11s. So what I do is I lined up number 8, number 10 and number 11, and then I cut those 2 pieces at one time. I hope that's clear. I think when you come to do it, it will become clear, because the piece that drops out of that one is going to be a number 10. So you just want to use that to cut your number 11 from. It just reduces your waste. Yeah, so I hope that's going to be clear enough. The only thing that might be a little confusing is when it comes down to these square shapes. There are in the pack, here is your small square and there is your large square. So with these, the smaller one is that small square, and then you only need one of this big square. So that's there. And then some of these ones with the tabs on the outside, we'll actually be trimming off some of those tabs, but we'll do that as we go. So I'm hoping that's self-explanatory. What I've done is I've divided it up into colour groups, so you'll be able to see the ones that I recommend that you cut out in mirror card, for example. And then these other 2 pieces, you know, I've been cutting those out in like satin cards or pearlescent, that kind of thing, just to give a little bit of contrast to the mirror sections. if I bring in this one here, you might be able to see. So like this detail piece here is in mirror, but the piece behind it is actually satin, and I've done the same here. So the clock face is in mirror, and then this piece just behind is in satin, and it just, you know, gives a bit more interest if you can mix up the finishes on your cardstock. And the thing is, we've all got so much of it in our stash, haven't we? So it's nice to get it out and use it as well. The other piece to mention here is you need one piece of either acetate, vellum or sparkle screens for your window. So I've put a window in the front of mine. That's where my pendulum is inside. I've actually used the glitter sparkle screens on this one. But what you can do, if you like, is you can actually cut it in the two side panels as well, cut an aperture, and then you would, you know, it would cast more light and you'd be able to see the pendulum from 3 angles. So that is something that you could do. In fact, if you want to go a step further and make it a bit like Big Ben, you could cut your face 3 times and do a face on both sides as well. I mean, you might need 3 clock mechanisms then if you do that. But it's always an option. I mean, it's your project, so you know how elaborate you want to make it is completely in your hands, but it's nice to know that you can make a couple of different variations. Okay, so there are more dies in this pack. If you flip it over, you'll see there are more on the back. So there's 2 sections of dies in this packet, but we'll put it together. And I think you'll find it comes together quite easily. It's quite a straightforward assembly, but just cut out all your pieces. I know it seems an awful lot, like, you know, with some of them, there's quite a few repeats, but it'll all become clear as we assemble it. Okay, I found there were a couple of extra pieces that were beneficial when I was actually doing the construction. So what I'm going to do, any extra pieces that you need, I'm going to put it on the screen, but I'm also going to put it in the YouTube description as well. And then obviously anywhere, you know, that I post about it, I'll put it in the group as well. I will make it clear that there are a couple of extra pieces that I think is beneficial to cut as well. Okay, so we're going to be starting with the top section first of all. So we'll create this section that's got the face on it. So I've gone ahead and done that. So as you can see, I've got the piece with the pinpricks, then I've got the small square, then the clock face, then you've got this decorative swirly design, and then you want to cut that separately and pop that on top. You don't want to put it in and cut it at the same time as the clock face. Then I've put my little corner embellishments on. Then what I've done on the panels beside it, either side of that, is I've done the same without the decoration on top. So you can see I've got the edge with the pinprick detail, I've got that on, but the small square, instead of being like satin board like that one, I've actually cut it from the same colour cardstock. So that's to kind of give you the illusion of, like, you know, when you get wooden paneling, because I want this to kind of look like, because it is so big, I want it to look like an actual piece of furniture in your home. Okay, so that's where I've got to on this piece so far. And then you take another one of these, and by the way, the tabs, you put them, I was just double checking, on the right and on the bottom. So that's the direction you want those 2 tabs to be in. So the next one we want is actually our back panel. So that's where the aperture is going in for our door. So what you do is you get that piece and you cut an aperture in it with that small square. Now with that small square that you've got left now, you get one of the hinge pieces. Okay, so these hinge pieces, it's probably best if I speak about them now. It's got score lines at several places on the way down. So this is used to join lots of different sections together. So what you want to do when you need to find out how long you need your hinge to be, you just hold your piece of paper up on the spine of the hinge, and where the top of that point is, you can see that score line. So you just fold it in half and snip along that score line. And then that gives you the right size hinge. Now I've gone ahead and I've actually attached my hinge on there. But as this piece came from here in the beginning, we know that now it's a door, that it will fit perfectly. So what you want to do is just tuck it inside and then glue the hinge on. And I'm doing this before I attach it, and then it's in place. So I'll just go ahead and add some glue. Okay, so I just want to make sure I'm putting it in the right way. So the tab is on the right hand side and the bottom. And then I want it to open up. Now you can glue your hinge on the other side if you prefer. I'd just like mine to be on that left side. Okay, so another thing I want to do is I want to put like a little fastener on the right hand side, but it can also work as a handle. So these like little lozenge shaped pieces with the holes in, these are kind of multi-purpose because I'll be using them here as the fastener for my door and kind of like a handle, I guess. But elsewhere we'll be using them to hang our pendulum. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that in and just glue it just behind my door there. And then I'm going to glue it onto the other one, onto the door frame at the same point. So if I put them together there, I know they'll meet up perfectly. And then I'll tuck that one inside. And then what I can do is I can use that as a handle to pull the door open and closed. But then if I want to tie it off, all I do is I get a little bit of narrow ribbon, or where's that bit of thread gone? I'll use a bit of narrow ribbon, or I'll use a thread. So there, you can just tie it with some thread to keep it closed if that's what you wish to do. You could even pop a brad through there. Okay, so now I can connect this into my little arrangement here. Okay, now I've attached my piece. I realised that the other ones, it was actually rotated and the tab was along the top. But it doesn't matter, it's absolutely okay, because this can go in anyway, really, in any direction. All we need to end up with is a tab on the end to close it up and a tab on the top and the bottom. Now, we then need to add one of these tabs, and we will be using our hinge. So again, what we do is we line up the spine with where we need it to be, and we can see the score line there. So we'll just snip it along that score line. So it doesn't matter whether you're attaching this hinge to the bottom edge or the top edge, it's exactly the same. So I'm popping glue onto half of it, and then I'll just line it up underneath. And glue it into place. Now we can close this up. Okay, I'm going to set that aside to dry for a moment. For our very top, we need 2 of these semicircle pieces that have got all the teeth along the top. So when you go ahead and you want to fold along all your score lines and bend over all your teeth and make sure that you've got that nice semicircle. Then on the second piece, we've added our decorative pieces. So you've got that piece, if you remember that I said you might want to cut in either a satin or a pearlescent, and then I've put my detail piece on the top in a mirror. So I've actually, because I'm making a pink clock, I couldn't think for a minute, I'm using rose gold in my decorations. Okay, so this is when you use the largest of the A5 pieces that are described in the cut list. I believe it was number 3. So what I've done, as I've shown you before, at each end I've taken one of these brackets and popped it on each end. So I just held it up against the edge, looked for where the score line met the end of my piece of card and just slipped it off. And there I've got a panel with brackets on each end. And then what I've been doing is I've been encouraging it to curve. And then what really helps is if you roll it just gently, and that really does help with gluing it together, because we want it to go around a semicircle. You can see how already it's taken the shape. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just start adding glue to a few teeth at a time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the other side and I'm going to put some glue on those. The outside view. So you want to push it in so the edge, so all of these in here are nice and tight. Right, so we're glued at the 2 edges. So now from the inside, I'm going to pull the rest of the teeth inwards, and I'm going to add some glue to them. Okay, now that side's in. I'll go ahead and put the other side on. Okay, so we've got that side on as well. I'm going to fold all 4 of these tabs over, ready for when we glue it on to the top of our clock. Let's set that side to dry. Okay, next we'll be using these pieces. Now if you have a look on the back, there are 2 pieces that are similar, but for this you want the longer pieces. So we want 4 of these. And then I'm going to layer that layering piece over the top. So that's this little piece here. Now these really do add to the stability of your project, so I would encourage you to add these. Okay, so I've folded along all of the score lines and the little tab there. And I've already put 3 together, so I'm just going to add this piece in now. So let's turn this over now. So we've got the wider part upwards, and our largest square will go on and cap this off. So let's put glue on all these tabs. Actually, I do like to put it on one first, so I will go ahead and do that, because it stops it from kind of sliding around. It anchors it on one point. Okay, now I can glue my piece onto here, my domed top, and it doesn't matter which way round. That's the good thing about this being like a square piece. It doesn't matter which way round you put it, because all sides will be the same. You want to make sure the borders on the front and back are quite even, and on the sides are quite even. I mean, it doesn't have to be exact, you know, just by eye is absolutely fine. And then what we can do is turn it over and push down a little bit from underneath. Okay, I'm going to set that aside to fully dry, and then I'm going to go back to my piece that's got the clock face on it. Okay, and what I want to do here is I want to put a top on. So what we've done is we've taken another of the pieces with the two tabs here, and we've got the tabs on two sides, but that is the size that we need for the top. So we just take the tabs off there. So that gives you this piece. So we'll put some glue on here. Right, what I'd like to do at this point is I'd like to actually put my clock mechanism in before I close this off. Now, you have got a door in the back, so you can do it through there, but it is easier to do it at this point. So if you go for the kit, you will be supplied with a clock mechanism. Now, the clock mechanisms are particular to this project, because when you get it in a little bag like this and you have all the pieces you need, the only thing you won't have is a battery, because there's restrictions for sending them through the post, so it's just easier to do it without one. So when you get your clock mechanism, you have the piece itself, and then you have these 6 extra little pieces. Okay, now what's different about this particular clock mechanism is that the spindle is the right length for the project, and also the hands are the right size for the project, and also they're like a vintage design which goes with the grandfather clock. So what you will find is on top of your hands there's just a little bit of a film to protect them, so you can take that off. Now, if you wanted to make a clock, like say I'm going to be making some cards with the clock face, so I don't need a full clock mechanism, but I could do with something to use as hands. So if I have one here, what I will be doing is I will be using some of my, sorry, let me take this out of the bag. So I'll be making some cards with my clock face, but I don't need a full clock mechanism, but I do want some hands to use. So if you have the Blue and Ansem Snowflake Edition, if we have a look at the hands here, and you have a look at the sizes, you can see how the sizes compare really well with the sizes of these. And then this one's a little bit longer. And then can you see how you can utilize some of the, I think those ones will be particularly good. Well, and that one. Oh, and these. Okay, there's quite a few in there that will work really, really well with this project. So if you want to use the clock face for projects, if you want to signify the time someone was born on a card, or you know, baby's first birthday, or you wanted to have a card saying party time, you know, kind of time puns. New Year's Eve is another good one, because you can put the hands to midnight. So, you know, if you wanted to do anything that's like time based on a card, obviously you won't be wanting to use a clock mechanism. So here's an array of hands, really. So that's your Bloomin' Anthem Snowflake edition. And obviously you can make lots of snowflake combinations with them as well. But you've got an array of hands there. Okay, so I'm going to be putting the, this is like a rubber grommet, I guess, on the back of the hole. Oh, that's something I should have mentioned, actually. When you, on the clock face, when you cut that out, you want to put this little circle piece here in the middle of the clock face. So if you see the picture, I have added them where on there. I've put the little hole in that you need in the middle of the clock face. So you will need it there, but you will also need it, which I haven't shown down here, is you will also need that in the middle of one of the, this one here, the like satin board small square. You'll need that hole as well there. And then you'll also need it in the larger panel with the 2 tabs. You'll need to put that hole in there as well. So when the 3 pieces layer up, so the clock face, the satin square, and one of the pieces with the 2 tabs, then you'll have the hole going right the way through to pop your clock mechanism in. So I'm sorry that I didn't make that clear earlier, but you've got time at this point to, no you don't. So if you haven't done that when you put it together, you can do what I've done, as I've actually used a scalpel, because I forgot as well to do it on my other 2 panels. I did it in my clock face, but I forgot to do it on my satin board and the pink piece there. So I just ran a scalpel through, and the thing is, these pieces overlap and you won't see that edge. So yeah, remember to do it beforehand, but if not, don't worry. Okay, so first of all goes on the rubber grommety washery thing, and I'm putting that over the spindle, and then I'm popping that into the hole. Okay, next on goes my washer, then goes my nut. Okay, so that's in place. So now we just need to pop our hands on. So I think it's about 3 o'clock. Right, the short one goes on first. Now you know it goes on first because it's got the bigger hole. So that means that it sits lower down on the spindle. So you just push it and it will grab. And then this one's got a smaller hole, so that one goes on next. Okay, that's gripped. Now this one is your second hand. Now these are very delicate. They can sometimes get a little bit buckled in the post, but they straighten up absolutely fine. Now this one's just got a little tube, I guess, on the back, and that goes over the pin in the very center of our clock mechanism, and it kind of caps that off, that little silver disc, and makes it nice and neat. Okay, so that's our clock mechanism in, and as soon as you pop a battery in, that'll be working. How cool that this is actually a working clock and a luminaire all in one. I think it's brilliant. Okay, so now we've done that, we can cap off our bottom. So I've got another of these pieces with the tabs on two sides, and I don't need them, so I'm just going to snip those off. And I am going to pop the glue on one edge again this time to anchor it. So we've got a complete cube with our clock face on the front. So now we want to join these two pieces together. So we'll add some glue onto these tabs. Okay, so I'm just going to bend these out a little bit. And that's so when we put it down, we can make sure they're touching. We want them all to make contact. If you find that there are a couple of little areas that you think could be glued a little bit better, you can just take a little slip of paper, put a little bit of glue and just slide it in. And then you can get a little bit of glue to where you need it to be, like that, without having to pull it all apart to get the nozzle of the glue in there. Okay, so we've got our top piece done. So it's starting to come together. Now if you wanted a more kind of carriage clock look, something for your mantelpiece, you could actually leave it at that point, and that's still quite a nice working clock, and it's quite decorative too. But we want to make it into a grandfather clock, so we'll move on to the next section. Okay, I want to jump down to the base now. So I've started putting some of my base pieces together. So this comes in two pieces. They've got these two scallops taken out. There's a tab on one end. And then you get the layering piece. So I've cut it in the same colour. But again, I really encourage you to cut that piece out and use it because it adds stability to the project. Okay, and then I've taken my decorative piece and I've added that. I've almost lined it up to the top edge, and then it just fits in that center piece. So I'll glue this piece on. Now, of course, if you wanted to showcase any pattern paper, you've got the side panels, and any of these layering pieces would be great for pattern paper. I'm just doing them in the same colour because the idea was to create like faux wood panelling, you know, like you get in furniture. But yeah, if you wanted to, if you've got some lovely pattern paper to use, they would be great pieces to do it on, all these layering pieces. Okay, so I'm going to join that in because I've completed the other three pieces. Okay, I'm just going to sit that aside to dry. Okay, now behind these little feet, the corners of that piece, we've got these little strengtheners. Now this comes in just a rectangular piece with a tab on one end. And what you'll see is that there are three little folds. So you add some glue to the tab. And it makes like a little triangle. Now these triangles are going to sit behind each corner, which are like basically the feet. And it allows some strength to them because, you know, it is a larger piece. You've got your clock mechanism in there. And then once you've got your lights in there as well, you know, anything that's got batteries is normally quite heavy. So I want it to be quite a nice strong piece for you. Okay, so what you do then, you've got a longer end and you've got two shorter sides. So you put glue on the two shorter sides. And then it'll fit in the corner. And it won't be visible from the outside. So what you want to do is you want to slide it down until it's like flush with the bottom of those little side panels. Because then it's spreading the weight, you know, when of anything that's inside. Okay, so I'll set that aside to dry. And then we'll work on our side panels. Okay, so with the side panels of this lower piece, if you keep referencing the photograph that's on the packaging, you'll kind of see the way they go. So some of the panels are kind of portrait, but this one down here is like landscape. So if you have a look and you like offer the pieces up, you'll see that some of them are the same width around the outside edge, and then some of them fit neatly inside. And this is what I was going for here. You'll see it's in portrait. So you've got like a frame around the outside of the piece, and then you've got a piece in the middle to create that kind of panelled effect. So here we've got these two pieces. So the outside edges meet up, so we know that's the right frame. This is a great thing about nested dies. We've got so many sizes that we can like really layer these up and get that panelled effect. So this one I'm just popping in the middle, just trying to make sure that there's an even border around, but just, you know, do it by eye, it'll be fine. Okay, so that not only adds a lot of dimension, you know, a lot of like that panelled kind of effect, but it adds a lot of strength. Because on the original one that I did, this one's actually made from 300 GSM cardstock. So what I wanted to do with this one is I wanted to go to the other extreme. And this is 216 GSM. And that's that texture card that nearly all of the big brands sell. So it seems to be holding up quite well so far because there's a lot of layering, but that's why it's so important to do the layering, is so that everything's nice and sturdy. Okay, so the other thing we need, if you look at this, what I've done here as well, is I've added the brackets in between each of these pieces and across the top. So I've got a tab at each end, so I don't need to add any on the end of this one, but I do need the tab across the top. So again, what we do is we offer up the piece to the spine, and then we have a look. Right, so that's the score line we need to trim on. Then if you want to double check, see, that's the right length. So that's why there are all those score lines, because it's like a multitasking hinge stroke bracket. So let's join all these side panels together. And there's no apertures in this one. No doors or windows. This one's nice and straightforward to go together. So I'm using the other piece now. So this is the smaller piece. I'm doing the same as we did before. So you'll see here, this layering piece is a little bit deeper, but we still need to add this to give strength to our project, especially as we're using lightweight cardstock on this one. Okay, I've folded along all the score lines, and I've put 3 pieces together, so I'll just add this one in. Now this actually connects into this panel piece, and it actually goes inside there. So it's opposite to where, because we've got the tabs on one side, so it's the other side. Okay, I'm going to set that to one side, and I'm going to come back to the very base piece. Now we've got the bigger sections. This is exactly the same as this piece here. That's it that way up, but we're going to use it the other way, this way. So it's the piece we just did here. It's just the bigger version of that. So this actually connects into it wouldn't be an assembly video if I didn't make a mistake. There's always one mistake I make each time. And the mistake was I put my little strengtheners in prematurely, because this needs to go inside there. So they need to go on afterwards. So I'm going to need to remove those, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I'm back. I've connected those 2 pieces together. I took the little feet strengtheners out, and so I could slide these in, and then I've put them back in. I may end up replacing them or adding some extra little pieces on, because they don't have as much integrity as they did in the beginning. But yeah, I made that mistake so you don't have to. Okay, so now we want to add these together. I'm just going to pop a top on here, but you want to take another piece with the 2 tabs and just snip the tabs off. Okay, and we'll just glue that into place. Okay, so that's our bottom section together. Now we want to place this on top. And you see how the bottom of it fits perfectly over that piece we just glued on. Okay. And again, if you find there's any gaps, you can see there's just a little bit of a shadow there. So what I'm likely to do is afterwards get a little piece of card, put some glue on it and slide it in any gaps. You know, anywhere where I think it's not made contact properly and not glued down properly. So don't worry if when you're doing it you're thinking, oh, that might be lifting a little bit on one area. You can go back and strengthen it a little bit afterwards. Okay, so now we've got our top section and we've got our bottom section, but look, the cool thing is, actually, if you didn't put that piece on, that would fit right there and you could make a shorter version. But anyway, we've put the next section on there, which means we're ready for our center section. Okay, so these are the side panels. So for these, this is the larger rectangles that we cut from the cut list. Now some of them have got apertures in, and two of them have and two of them haven't. So the two that haven't, one becomes a door and the other one becomes a window. Now if you want to have 3 windows, then you can cut 3 of them the same as this, so you can cut the aperture in the other 2 as well. Now you've got a thicker frame, and then the thinner frame goes over the top. And then what I've done, because this is going to be my window on my front, is I've added the little mirror detail that's around the clock face. I've actually put them around the edge of my window as well. So let's just glue that one in. And then that's given us that kind of faux wood panel look, and it's given us extra strength too, which is always great. So here we're with the sides that didn't have the aperture, it's solid in there, and then it's just got the smaller rectangle in the middle. So if you take a look at the photograph when you do it, you'll see but there's actually an extra layer here than I had here, so I've just got one frame around it, but in the final version I decided to put an extra layer in there to give us an extra look of paneling. So if you have a look at that, you've got like 2 frames around the outside edge, and then you've got that centerpiece. Okay, so the other thing we've done here is to join them up. Again, we've used our brackets. So is that the full length? So this is the longest piece, so we don't need to trim these brackets at all. So they go on the ends to join these pieces together. And then what we've done is we've put them top and bottom as well. So in order to do that, I always find it's easier to fold them first. So what you do is you offer it up, put the point down there, and then see where it finishes, and then you see where the score line is there, and then you can just snip across, and then that fits exactly there. So let's go ahead and put this together. There are a lot of those brackets in this one, but it's the way that we can actually join all of our nested dies together and get these kind of panelled sections, you know, to make it look like a grandfather clock. It gives us that extra size that we need. I mean, this really is a large project. It's a fantastic piece of home decor. And the thing is, it's got two uses, because it's a working clock and it's a luminaire as well. Now when you put your this is actually going to be my window this side, so I've actually got a sparkle screen here. This is the Starburst one. Now with this, the cool thing about the Starburst ones, it's unlike the others in the fact that it comes out with the separate little well, stars really, but you know, designs. So with this one, when I put it behind there, you can see you get lots of white stars. This is the cool white, so it does look a little bit blue there, but that is bright white. But with the multicolour ones, what is so cool about this is each star is a different colour. How amazing is that? So because I'm going for a colourful look for this one, I thought actually that might be really cool. when I was coming up with this colour scheme, because obviously the original one I've done in brown to, you know, to kind of mimic the wood that you would have on a traditional grandfather clock. But I was thinking, if I wanted a clock for, say, my niece's bedroom, it would need to be in a style that she would want to have. And so I thought, well, why not change it up completely and go for an unexpected colour scheme. Okay, so there we go. So that's the sparkle screen. And the thing is, if you just doing one window, because like I said, you can do three windows, but if you're just doing the one, like I am, your sparkle screens are going to go really far, because you'd be able to do lots of these. Okay, now this one here is my door. So what I've done is the piece that cut out that came away from there, and with the smaller panel that's on the others, that's created my door. And then I've taken one of the brackets and I've glued it onto one side. Well, bracket hinge, I'm sure I keep changing my terminology there, but that's what I mean. It's the same piece, they're not different pieces. Okay, now we know this door is gonna fit because it did actually come out of this aperture to begin with, which is great. So I'm just putting that in. Okay, now as we did with the door on the top of the clock, I'm going to put a couple of these pieces on. So I can either use them as a handle or like a little lock, a little closure. So I'm going to slide one in here, and then the other one I'll slide in beside it. Okay, so I'm just going to put them together, line them up together. Okay, so we can close this up now. Okay, so that's our rectangle piece completed with the window and the door. So we need to put the top and bottom on here. So I've got two of the extra small squares here. I'm just putting on the top and bottom. Okay, so I've got another small piece to attach to the top of my piece here, but I'm just going to hinge it on the front edge because I want to add my pendulum in before I kind of close the box off. Now there is a doorway for putting your lights in, but I found that the let me just check that's the right size. Yeah, but I found when it was difficult putting the pendulum in through that doorway, so we're going to put it in first. Okay, so here's our pendulum. What I've done is I've cut the bar from like that satin card, and then I've cut my little weight here from some foil card, and it gives you that really cool you know, the rings. I just love that effect. But it's double-sided, so I've cut two of each and then just glued them back to back. So then what you want to do is these little pieces with the hole in, you want to fold them in half and then glue the two sides with the hole together, and then that gives you this piece. So what we're going to do is we're going to glue our little hanger onto our piece here. So this is where the window is there. See where the window is? So I'm going to glue it just above, in the middle. Now if you want it to be closer to the window, you can actually trim your little piece, you know, the piece here, the piece towards the window, towards the seam. You can actually trim that down to make it closer. But with the sparkle screens, they're not overly... Okay, so we're going to add our pendulum, and we're just going to use a brad. Now you want the neat side to be at the front. So but depending on how tight you tighten your brad, it does actually swing. So if you do it very loose, it can actually swing when you kind of sway your clock. Okay, so when I close up my box now, pendulum is inside. So I need to glue this piece onto here. Okay, now we can go ahead and glue this center piece onto our top. Okay, so the last bit is to pop base on. Okay, while this is drying, I'll pop a set of lights inside. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop my lights inside. And then I'm going to pop a glue dot on my battery pack. And I can get to the little button. So I can turn it on and off without opening the door. So I'll lace that back up. But I can't actually show you very well the whole thing because it's so big. But if I put them side by side here, so here's the traditional brown, so you can see like the way that it looks. It does definitely look more like kind of traditional wood paneling style like that. But if you want some fun color schemes, why not make them any color you like. Do check out the Facebook group for more inspiration. The inspiration team will be all of their makes will be in the album in the Facebook group, Clayna's Crafty Crew. And please do share what you create as well, because we absolutely love to see what you make, because we all inspire each other. I definitely get inspired by your creations too. Well, I hope you enjoy it. I hope it's something that you'll both want to have in your own home and could see yourself wanting to make as a gift for someone else. Let me know what you think. Let me see what you create. And I hope that you find this not only fun to make, but a really useful piece of home decor, because it is your luminaire and a working clock. I can't wait to see what you come up with. And so I'll see you in the Facebook group. Bye!